there we go. Let's make sure that this is working on YouTube. Alright, thank you everyone for joining. This is another special newscast from Muga News under Utopia News. The Age 96 revised changes with Benji. Hopefully we might see David C. join in on this. It seems like the YouTube is actually broadcasting, but it doesn't look the same as it normally does. Oh, it's just a little bit slow. Seems like it's going. Yeah, we're good to go. So welcome, Benji. And what are we looking at today? Understand we're looking at the revised changes that were released.
Yep. Look, yeah, we had a lot of changes, obviously, from proposed to revise. I think that was really off the back of, we did get quite a lot of feedback this time round in proposed, so that was good. We have attempted to kind of give as much as we reasonably can, without, you know, as usual, same principles, breaking the game as best as possible. 4CF, I know, is a hot topic for a lot of people at the moment. So council has made some revisions to that for final. So that's still being worked through. And we have taken into account some of the feedback that has come through, but the intent is to chill at the moment, as far as I'm aware, unless David changes his mind, is to proceed ahead with those changes, but we are trying to tweak it to obviously prevent abuse, and I know that that's a concern that's been raised by the community. So that's really been the core focus at the moment, is to just make sure that we eliminate that abuse mechanic at the moment, because the intent behind it is actually to help and reward, and also give exits for people that don't want a war. But, you know, I guess, look, FFW gives a better summary than I can, because this is more of his mechanic than mine. But essentially, the intent behind it is that it rewards aggressors that are waving in range, and upper KDs that are in range, and potentially could be able to war. Then have that opportunity to, you know, make a decision whether they want to press the button or whether they want to exit. So, you know, what we all usually call wind as the dodging of wars. Yep, you can dodge. Like, we're still giving you that opportunity. If anything, we're giving you a better opportunity to just immediately dodge rather than drag it out, but it will cost you. And whereas the intent behind the aggressive 4CF, which is, I think, where I've seen most of the concern from the community at the moment, is around that if the aggressor were to wave in and the defender were to drag it out, and not actually, you know, I'm going to put this bluntly, has no intent to war, but is just messing around, then that gives the aggressor an exit, and stops the defender from, you know, essentially, you know, kind of in some ways grieving, because we've seen that happen ourselves, Wind. But I know that there were concerns about the abuse of that mechanic, and it is really being looked into. I just wanted to let the community know that we are really trying to think about how we do that. It's not a simple thing, so we are trying to, you know, get it right.
Awesome, and yeah, I think that was one of the things that kind of stood out to me right away, was the whole forced ceasefire thing. I was just trying to read it quickly before we started the cast here. It's quite a lot going on in there, so we'll be sure to go over that shortly. And yeah, I mean, we've seen our fair share of abuses in the past couple of ages, that's for sure. No doubt about that, but no sense in opening up that can of worms. The one thing I just wanted to point out again is the timeline that we're looking at here for the age changes to come out, and we're seeing, you know, final changes now a day before the age ends. So again, I want to thank the Changes Council for making sure that is continuing to happen. I know that makes a lot of people feel happy to see that kind of thing come out.
Especially, we're definitely trying.
Yeah, and in the last couple days of the age, I know it's like it usually dies out for a lot of kingdoms, unless you're fighting for something at the top. But you know, for us specifically, it's been a very quiet past couple of days for sure. So it's nice to see the changes coming out, and final changes are always the most exciting, because you never really know what's going to happen until you actually see those final changes.
Other call-outs, you would have seen the base attack time. I wasn't in proposed, and it's obviously gone into revised. See this probably more as a quality of life change, we hope. We have received a lot of feedback about this. I have still kept it in that, kind of 12 window for war. So I've reduced the phase in down to 20% for in war, so that takes you to somewhere about 11.2, I think. So it's not like we're pushing the schedule of players to be making more than that, but if people want to reduce it further via going tactician or super buffed up Godspeed, or tailor themselves to be a real speed based comp, you still have that opportunity, but we're not forcing that base attack time and war mechanics to enable that as the meta. It's more of really a choice. Haven't really heard any major concerns about this yet in the age discussion group, but obviously open to hearing from anybody in this chat about it. I personally think it's a good change, to be honest. I saw that Smiles talked about it in his cast, and he didn't have any major concerns about it. But yeah, we're hoping that people are happy with that one.
Yeah, and I definitely want to thank Smiles as well for coming up with his own little thing there, because I've definitely been asking everyone on the news team to kind of come up with their own little piece that they want to do, kind of like the way I do the Warcasts. But Smiles has started his little rants thing, which I think is kind of funny because he's always doing that normally in Muga. But definitely, if you haven't checked it out yet, I'll definitely post a link in the news channel so you guys can check that out. Again, I'll post it in the YouTube video as well, so you guys can check out Smiles' stuff that he's working on, because it's definitely something, something else everyone should take a look at. It's pretty funny. Alright, so enough about that. Yeah, base attack time, that's nice to see that go back down again. I thought recently, since it's gotten a little bit longer, just the way the armies are returning, for me anyway, it seems like it's just a terrible schedule usually. Sometimes it was on point.
That was the intent, because we know ourselves, like, the scheduling is a nightmare, and that was the goal, is to improve the scheduling.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, the worst thing for me was I found that it's like, oh, we're always leaving end of war ceasefire and it's 2 in.the morning, and oh, you guys have to be ready for 3 a.m. 4 a.m. to, like, for a wave. It's like, fuck that. There's no way I'm staying up that time when I have to wake up at 6, 7 in the morning. So I mean, I'm happy there's mentors and sitters and things like that, but still, I feel like that longer attack time definitely played a huge part in that, and thanks to everyone in the community for being so vocal about that, because really that's the only way to get these things changed. And again,
yes, I did have a few people wouldn't let me alone about it, so.
And something else major change here is offensive specialists converting into elites on successful trad marches being removed as a general mechanic to all races, which makes me think that, I don't know, I need to read the rest of this, but could apply to maybe a personality or a race later in the future. Probably undead, I would imagine, is usually who gets that kind of thing. What was the reasoning behind that one, Benji?
I mean, there's a combination of things. I've talked about this in the age discussion group, but the concept really is essentially, if you look at the removal of the elite conversion, and then if you look at what we've done around removing draft speed, build time, train time, and affluent and expedient, we've really made some significant culls there. And the intention around that is that we've been seeing in a lot of end of war ceasefires hugely excessive amounts of GC coming out of war, and in some ways it was really stagnating war and hostilities across the kingdoms because of that, because people just weren't willing to play ball because of the fact that a particular KD would just have excessive amounts of money.
Well, seems like we lost you there for a second, Benji. Um, just letting you know in case you can still hear me. But yeah, significant amounts of money is way too easy to pay for dragons. So I mean, that was always something. Maybe made the game a little bit too easy. We'll wait for Benji to come back. In the meantime, I like this little thing that's been coming out recently with all of the changes. The half-blood, like little summary of the fluff part. The half-blood population has been infected with a vicious virus that turned them into the living dead, replenishing the undead forces. All half-bloods have been exterminated by the virus, leaving behind only the true blood population. The races have come together to specialize and brought back personalities to fill the void left by the half-blood's
Oh,
extinction.
can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are. I was just reading the little summary of the age of why the half-bloods are no longer in existence. While
Yeah,
your
we put some
microphone
but
from that.
obviously some story behind it. But yeah, essentially, look, the goal is to start to, I guess you could say, pull back the massive amounts of gold that kingdoms were having. Um, we might have gone a bit too heavy on it, but look, we'll just see how it runs this age. If it becomes problematic and we see huge problems, we'll review it next stage. I don't think it will. I think the only advice that I would be giving to kingdoms is you're going to have to really be choosy about how you pump in an end war ceasefire now. With the fact that obviously getting a full elite pumped army is not going to be as easy as it used to be previously with the converts on top. Um, that was kind of the intent behind it, to probably put back a little bit more of that econ power that we were seeing in end war ceasefires.
And not only that, the four ceasefires now 3 utopian months. Was it always that long, or wasn't it just a month before? I think.
It was, yeah. So we've made that 3.
Nice, nice. All right.
We're trying to give it that reprieve, I guess you could say, between, so the kingdoms can, think about what they want to do. If they want to go back round to that kingdom.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's where it gets a little bit tricky, and you really kind of have to pay attention when you're reading here. Forced ceasefire can now be used irrespective of war range. That's good, I guess. When forced ceasefire is used while in war range, while outside war, the following 2 penalties occur. If defensive forced ceasefire is used in war range, the defender will pay 3% of total kingdom honor, and 1 war win point. Wow, to the aggressor. If the aggressive forced ceasefire is used in war range, the defender will pay 3% of total kingdom honor and 1 war win point. In addition, wow, the Utopian lords will remove 5% of total kingdom honor from the defender for disappointing their people. Wow. Definitely adds a little bit of depth to the forced ceasefire mechanic now. People are really going to have to pay attention what's going on.
Yeah, look, we've made some more revisions. That's all I'm going to say for now. But revisions have been made, and as I've said before, the intent is to not cause abuse, and I know that that's been raised a concern on multiple occasions. I am kind of still on the fence around some of the abuse mechanics, but I can see from some people's points that the abuse too. So I guess what I'm saying is I do acknowledge the feedback, and it has been actively looked in the council, and we'll see what the changes pan out to be in final.
So Shadow saying for ceasefire wasn't 1 month, it was actually 2 previously, it was as long as 5. So it seems like we found a happy median in the middle here.
Correct.
Thanks, Shadow, for reminding us of that fact. Alright, let's move on to the next thing here. Mercenary and prisoners offense increases to 8 and dungeon capacity reduction to 30. Okay, so you can pay for some more offense, but you can't hold as much in your dungeons anymore. I noticed recently we were running a little bit more dungeons than usual, or more dungeons than I would run. But I mean, was that due to increased capacity? I'm not sure. Maybe it was just because of our racial pick, but I guess that kind of balances in some way. But again, it puts a little bit more emphasis on the economy side. So you need to have the money to actually, mercenary and prisoners offense is increased to 8. So yeah, we're good That's good. But again, dungeon capacity is reduced. So I guess
Yeah,
you
look,
could
I mean, the
still...
intention behind is make them a little bit more meaningful. Yep, dying there, wind. But I mean, the intention was to make them a little bit more meaningful. But also, we have reduced the dungeon capacity so that people are, thinking about it a bit more rather than just running 1 or 2% dungeons. So that was subtle change, but thought it was a good change.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Something that's always kind of been played around with a little bit. It's one of the more easier things to change, and no one really says anything about it usually. Not too many people base their strategies around mercenaries and prisoners, especially for, when factoring in offense or maximum offense or something like that. Warwind book bonus. Let's look at the war changes here. Warwind book bonus increased from 48 hours to 72. War will... Does that war colon thing have to be there? I don't know. Will no longer have draft speed bonus, training time reduction, and build time reduction. This includes end of war ceasefire. Ho ho! That really kind of slows down your ceasefire. Really makes that extra day, the fourth day that we've had for the past little while, seem like it's not really doing anything for us there. So again, there's the summary of the stuff below that. 25% draft speed is being removed, minus 25% build time is being removed, same with train time being removed. The 12-hour phase-in of the minus 25% attack time is reduced to 20% attack time, which is only fair considering, we did drop down to 14 hours on a base attack time now. I'm interested to see how this goes. I think end of war ceasefires are less lucrative now, so I think going into an end of war ceasefire just for the sake of it or just to get an extra bonus is going to be a little bit less enticing. So maybe we might see less of those smaller micro kingdom wars like we did the past couple of ages. There were quite a lot of them, like 5 versus 5 or 10 versus 5 or 2 versus 2, just to get that ceasefire. I'm sure they'll still do it. But
yeah, I think
definitely puts more emphasis on the team side of it and on the kingdom. Maybe
I think
monarchs,
people will have to rethink things a little bit in terms of their approach when it comes to end of war ceasefire.
Monarchs might struggle. Certain leaderships might struggle a little bit this age due to that, because we've been so used to overwhelmingly powerful ceasefires and pump times. So it'll be an interesting change, I think. Definitely make the game a little bit harder. All right, and again, let's continue on to the intel. Another tongue twister here. I'm not sure who writes this stuff, but maybe it could be a little bit more clear, because
I'll be one of them.
I speak English pretty well, and even for me, maybe it's because I haven't slept very much in the past few days, but it seems like this stuff is just like hard to read. I don't know. Let's read this one here. Significantly reduce the difficulty to gather intel inside end of war ceasefire to outside kingdoms. Okay, yeah, I got that. Crystal ball reduced to 1 mana cost. Was it, how much was it before? 2 or 3? Let's see if someone's posting in the changes here. Give DE prisoner converts.
2. I think it was 2. They're really just quality of life changes, to be honest. So that's the intent behind those 2 things. I don't think the community's been that unhappy about that one. I mean, there's nothing more frustrating when you're trying to decide whether you want to go to war with another kingdom and you're still currently in end of war ceasefire and you can't get intel properly. So that was the intent behind that one. To stop, KD saying, well, I don't have intel, don't know what you look like, can't get information, as part of the Diplo. So we've effectively removed that concern. And then the crystal ball, that's just to provide a little bit more opportunity there in terms of intel gathering, because that's been changed to 1 mana now.
That's definitely beneficial for the entire world, because as we all know, it's usually a handful of people that are taking intel in the kingdom to begin with. So And those people are awesome, and hopefully more people want to be like those people. Looking at the ritual side of things, I mean, it looks like it's kind of the same thing as before. What's changed, if anything, on the ritual side of things here?
Any change was Havoc. So gone down from 20 to 15.
20 to 15. Okay, so yeah, so no real changes there. Just a reminder, I guess, that the rituals are no longer the same rituals that we're all used to. Amnesia is now accessible by all races. Tree of Gold rune costs have been increased by 100%. So definitely the focus here on, it's going to be tough times. Money's going to be tough to come by this coming age. Same with elites and same with anything else that costs a lot of money. So we're going to see lots of spec armies, I think, for a while. This age coming up. Quickly looking at, and it's good to see Tree of Gold rune cost, because I feel like that spell is just so OP. Even with this increase, it's still pretty strong. So definitely something that was needed to help reduce those end of war ceasefire gold caches. Because I remember just certain TMs just having countless millions of GC and there was nothing they could even do with it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great that we had that, but it just seemed a little bit too out there. Like the game was just on easy mode. Anyway, let's take a quick look at the races now. Avian looks like standard stuff, minus attack time plus the birth rate, illuminate shadows and fanaticism, no stables and horses, obviously that's usually their thing. Looks like they got a decent elite there. And again, oh wait a second, prisoner and mercenary didn't it say that prisoners and mercenaries offense was increased to 8? Okay, so I guess there's just a little bit of a typo here on the races thing.
They're all 8. It's just a typo. Persane did it before he went to sleep.
Perfect. Yeah, it's good to know everyone's struggling from a lack of sleep, but not just me. No, really, it sucks though. Is there anything you wanted to say about Avian? I mean,
it's the running joke that everyone's brought up with me.
Yeah. Is there anything? I mean, this just looks like our standard Avian. I mean, with a bit of a, attack time, maybe birth rates a little bit higher than the usual, but still 15-20% is, I think, common for Avian to have in those categories.
Yeah, look, I mean, there were some changes in terms of the elite value. I'd be curious, Miles, if you want to chat also to chime in, because I know there he goes, he's put his hand up. We have buffed the elite. It is a significant buff. We've removed the war horses, because I just felt like a 1-0 war horse was just a bit of a novelty, to be honest. Yeah, look, I mean, I feel like they're in a pretty good place. The D spec we moved. The O spec we moved to D spec. We felt like it suited it a little bit better. Kind of what I liked how Smile summarized it in his rant. It's a little bit more, hit, grow, birth rate, can potentially, get you, a good base defense behind you. Just felt like thematically it fit a little bit better. The spells, across the board was more because we just were hearing from the community that they felt like that was a bit of a, they wanted that flavor there, so we've tried to attempt to do that theme-wise as best as we reasonably can without also breaking a race. Illuminate Shadows and Fanaticism felt fairly good for Avian, but also not game-breaking. But open to feedback on that from the community. I haven't had anyone really vocalize Avian yet. That's not to say that maybe we haven't made it too strong, but keen to hear feedback on that. But I mean, I think Avian's in a good place. I think it's a great core choice. It could also be used as a hybrid if it wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good race. Is there anything, by the way, welcome Smiles. Was there anything you wanted to say about Avian here?
Yeah, Avian looks pretty strong. I like the D-spec in there. It's not something we haven't seen before either. If you ran like a
No.
12 D-spec Avian with like 4 or 6 EPA, that's very similar to a lot of the hybrids you've seen in recent ages, and I think I really like that sort of flavor on an Avian. Fits well. You got
Hmm.
the birth rate and attack speed. It kind of helps out doing the top feed sort of things. So yeah, I think Avian's really strong. I think your ideal change is you have a lot of really strong core, and then you
Yeah.
have races for TMs that aren't too strong, but then the TM purse are strong just because they have things no one else has. So I think we're certainly getting there on revised. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, that was exactly it, Smiles. We had to find that balance on the TM side with the races to the Persos. That was difficult. And I know that, people have their views on TMs, wanting to be stronger and that they're not strong enough and, we don't do enough of them. And I personally think they're in a really good place this age in the revised changes. I think we've done some really good stuff there. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I do think it's heading in a better direction. But yeah.
Yeah, just in revised, as I see it, I think they're a little bit on the high end. I think they either need to be tweaked down or like you need your dwarf, human, undead tweaked up a little bit. So I think there is still in revised a bit of a mismatch on races, but I rather everything feel strong than everything feel weak.
Absolutely. So
Mm.
let's take a look at Dark Elf here. We got a plus the spell damage, plus the TPA, giving it some of TM abilities here, but with the offensive elite, which what we're kind of used to with Dark Elf. So it's a good hybrid, I think, choice here. Also great for fireballs. This birth rate thing kind of hurts them though. But I guess if you could just steal your or kidnap peasants, that doesn't really matter if you're playing that role. This kind of looks like our standard Dark Elf setup. I mean, it looks good. That birth rate thing kind of not the greatest, but again, there's easy ways around that. So it's nice to see Dark Elf back in its regular glory. I think they'll be used a lot this age.
Yeah, look, I mean, the only things I have thoughts of the moment with Dark Elf is, do I potentially give them a better spell kit? Maybe, unsure, because I don't want it to dilute the personalities in terms of the choices, because I'm more than likely expecting most Dark Elves to go some type of hybrid. However, I'm undecided on that yet. The TPA was just a subtle change. Felt like it was something in a better direction than where it was in proposed, to be honest with you, than the thief cost. The only thing I'm a little bit torn on is the elite unit at the moment. Undecided on what I do with that yet. But I think it's much better than proposed, in my opinion. The Dark Elf's a bit of a hard one, I've found, to try and get that right balance. It's always been a difficult one for our council to get right, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean either way, it's still like I could make this work, no matter what. Just looking at it. So it's I could see it just staying the way that it is. I mean, it's pretty solid already. Not too many people are gonna target the Dark Elf, I don't think, in its whatever state it's in. It's not really a core. It's not really a TM. It's kind of in between, so it can easily bounce back either way. Either way, it's a pain in the butt to have kicking around. Let's take a look at Elf. I mean, we got our standard magic user here, mage style, plus 30% magic effectiveness. That's WPA, access to chastity and nightmares. Only difference is a sabotage damage penalty. Which, I mean, to be honest, this is going to be your mage character. You're not going to be doing too many sabotage operations, if at all. Um, so, I mean, that penalty is really nothing for Elf. I mean, they're not really getting too much, though. But Elf usually gets a WPA buff That's kind of their thing. The elite unit 612, and that's kind of nice. Some people might actually use their elites to attack, but it's doubtful. That's kind of your stay-at-home elite.
Yeah, look, Elf is probably the only race at the moment that we probably have some revisions on at the moment, in terms of, if I were to say what I would quantify. Yeah, I mean, I think I would probably say we're probably going to make a bit of changes to Elf. The rest of the races will be, yeah.
Elf kind of just seems like, weren't too sure what to do, so we just kind of put some stuff in there that Elf commonly sees.
I would agree with that summary. I would definitely agree with that summary. And I think, I've heard it from a few people. Smiles just reminded me again in his rant about the nightmares, so I've definitely considered that. So, yeah, you can expect changes on Elf, is what I'm saying, for finals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, next stage, whenever I see an Elf, I'm going to think of, that's their nightmare. That's their nightmare guy. All right.
Any comments on that, Smiles?
Let's just quick look at the personalities here. Okay, so heretics do get nightmares. Okay, so it's not going to be that one way then. In the meantime, let's take a look at Dwarf. Smiles was saying that Dwarf should probably be buffed. Building efficiency 15%. I think that might be a little bit low for Dwarf, more than usual. But still a good buff. Minus 50% construction time. That's pretty big. That's a very powerful buff. So I see where the building efficiency's been kind of taken down a little bit, or not as much as it normally is. Access to mist. That's always funny. Plus 100% food consumption, and cannot accelerate construction. That's actually works out well, considering people are going to be strapped for cash. Dwarf could be a very easy pick, and with a 13-6 offensive elite, with your horses and mercenaries or prisoners or whatever, you got some pretty good power behind that army. Although I think with cash being in such short supply, it's possible people might run less farms to help compensate, kingdom-wide gold anyway. Maybe running more banks or more homes than usual. I don't know. Time will tell. We'll see what actually happens next age. But Dwarf, again, a solid pick. Kind of your econ choice. Again, this is kind of standard stuff that we see from Dwarf. I really like how the whole book has been opened up here. Like, we're not really restricting anything. Like, a lot of the spells are being used. A lot of different bonuses are being used. So it's nice to see that things are a little bit less restricted than usual.
That was the intent, coming from, the race, the last few ages. I have tried my best to give that opportunity still there, in terms of having some opportunity of choices. And, that's where you might see, where I've mixed things up a little bit in the personalities a bit more, and I've kind of given a bit more of a vanilla to the races, but still they've got kind of their core themes, so that if people still want to mix things up or be really, particular true thing, like, if somebody wants to go full on speed mode and go avian tact, they can still do that. If they want to go pure rogue, they still have those options there. Or if you want a hybrid, I've given that in terms of the race choices. So we've tried to give that versatility still, because I know that that's something that people like, but I also have tried to give the opportunity for people still to pure through that race perso concept.
Absolutely, and I know personally myself, I kind of wanted personalities to come back. I had my fill of race after a couple ages. It just seemed to fall flat, in my opinion. So I'm happy that personality's kind of making a comeback. Although, when you think about the race wasn't that different. I don't know, I just like having the personalities. Just seems like that's more like original Utopia. Moving on to Fairy, Arcane Science Effectiveness buff, 15%, minus 50% Wizard losses, and minus 50% Thief losses. So it looks like Fairy again is falling into that TM role. However, this minus 25% military science effectiveness, further solidifies the fact that they're probably not going to be attacking. And with the 9 offensive specialist, that's one less than the average. This is one you're kind of sit at home thief mage. Again,
It's
this is kind of a
yeah.
typical
Essentially,
Fairy.
it's just we've tried to provide an opportunity where for like a static TM. I guess what you say is if people still want that choice, they've still got it. Is it easily obtainable? No, but is it there? Yes. So that's kind of the intent behind it. I know that people have been giving me feedback about the spell book on Fairy, so I am looking into that for the final changes. So that will probably have some subtle changes there.
Smiles, just so you know, it actually says that you're muted right now. Not sure if maybe that's just something to do with your phone. Anyway, moving on to human. Again, Smiles, if there's anything you want to comment about any of the races, we'll come back and let you say your piece. Human, again, looks like our standard human, although instead of just getting like an income penalty immunity or a dragon immunity, humans getting this plus 10% dragon slaying strength. I'm sure that'll come in handy if anyone does pick human. The extra expenses, though, for the military wages, means humans not going to be very happy when they actually do get their elites. So it is kind of a good thing that for their sake that trad marches won't produce conversions anymore, because human could easily see their wages go out of hand.
I can see Smiles is trying to jump back in wind. In terms of human, I've received I've received feedback that people feel like human still is a bit underwhelming in comparison to some of the other core race choices. Look, it's a vanilla race, but it has huge potential. It still has a bit of that science focus. I did revise in terms of the psi, because I just felt like it was too strong, and I love science and I wish I could keep it at where it was. It just had some concerns that it was a little bit too strong there, in my opinion, but still good. And if you sim some numbers and you look at human properly, it is a very strong race mid to late age if you play it right. But taking the feedback also from the community, and you can expect maybe just some slight tweaks. Human, I'm not going to say it's game breaking, it's just slight tweaks. Yeah.
Again, this is a perfect example of, feels like we're going back to like a more classic Utopia. Be interesting to see what the personalities look like. To be honest, I haven't even. This is the first time I'm actually looking at all this stuff. I usually don't hold my breath until final changes, and I don't like looking or getting my hopes up usually. But we have been doing these casts, so I've had no choice but to look at them all as they come out. However, this time I didn't actually look at anything until just tonight, so I'm actually pretty happy with what I'm seeing. Orc.
That's good.
Orc now.
Hey, I think I'm back again.
Hey, you're back, Smiles.
Yeah.
You now, Smiles.
That's good. Human and dwarf are a little under-tweaked in flavor, I think. When your dwarf's only 15, when your human's only 10 on BE and science, they're just not what everyone expects. And I don't think either of them are particularly powerful either where they're at. No one's going to play DE. I think Wynn's wrong. He said, oh yeah, lots of people are going to play this. Nah, you're going to have like 85 DEs. It's going to be boring. It needs a little something something. Fairy, with the revised changes on Heretic, is in a weird spot. It's still going to be a fine rogue or mystic, but it's kind of double dipped on the Heretic, and that's usually where you expect to see the Fairy. And traditionally Elf has that 12-point D spec, and that's a lot of free stuff, and it's usually got this 30% WPA, but without a free D spec, it's a lot worse than people are used to seeing Elf. So I think, you're expecting to see more changes on Elf, is what I was hearing people say, but I think it's in an awkward spot where people assume it's stronger than it is because they're just assuming a spec that doesn't exist.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree, Smiles. And that's why I can confidently say we've made some bit of changes to Elf. I would say that the only one race that I would consider major changes before revised to final.
But I think a human. So you've got. We haven't got there yet, but the Sage right now is severely undertweaked. I think a good place to go with human is to push that learn resistance, because it's not an actual hour boost, but it does lead to more books end of the day. I think that's a nice place to be for human.
Yeah, look, we've made some changes to Sage. It was one of the personalities that we felt was probably a little bit underwhelming against the other core personalities. So you can expect some changes in Sage, hopefully in the right direction. I don't know if we'll really do much more with the human. We've made some, like I said to you, we have made some very subtle changes to human. I do take on the feedback about Dwarf, and I have tweaked it a little bit. But that's kind of where we're at with those dons. Just conscious of time because I do have to go in 20 minutes. Wind.
Absolutely, and I don't think it'll take much longer than that unless Smiles really has a
Quick,
lot to
Rind!
say.
Give us that speed read through of the rest.
All right, Orc. Nothing's really looking much different about Orc.
It's DC, so I'll keep on going.
Plus
I guess.
15%. Oh, you know what? I'm just having a bad connection right now. Of course.
I know.
We all know.
Yeah.
One time.
There we go. All right. So I think we'll be good, Benji. Orc is looking the same as it always does. Enemy casualties and battle gains. However, no bonuses from honor. So that's something that.
I'm just gonna go if he speaks up.
You know what? I think it's there. It's still being recorded. I'm not sure. Oh, you know what? It's just Discord for some reason. So anyway, I'll just keep talking, and eventually it'll come back. You guys just let me know when you can hear me again. To me, from my side, it looks good. But
yeah, look, Orc is essentially smash, and that's kind of where it's headed to. Kills. It's still got that focus on it. We did change to gains in revise. Might make some changes there. But apart from that, I'm not expecting anything major into finals for Orc. I personally think Orc's in a really good place. I don't think it's, oh my god, super strong. I don't think it's underpowered. I think it's just a solid choice for a core if you wanted to use it, in my opinion. I don't know, Smiles, if you had any commentary there.
I like revised Orc a lot more than proposed Orc. Proposed Orc was just toss it. Revised is in a really nice spot.
Yeah. Bloodlust felt like it placed well with Orc. Traditionally, that's where you would kind of have it. But it is a bit of a double-edged sword, which kind of feels nice for a race on Orc.
Absolutely. It's very standard Orc, I think, we're seeing here. Now moving on to Undead. Minus 20% offensive military casualties and no food required. They see that all the time. Reflect magic and animate dead. Penalty is no sabotage operations available. A very classic Undead thing to have. Nothing really special there. I mean, we're probably going to see a bunch of Undeads because people love to play Undead. I mean, everyone hates Plague. Let's be honest.
Yeah, look, I mean, Elf and Undead
no
are two races where I've had feedback on change required more than anything else.
Hold on a second, though. Does Undead have the Plague here? It doesn't actually.
If Undead had Plague and Revised, they'd be in a good spot. But revised undead looks in they're not so good. They have very few bonuses, and they've got a good elite, but it's expensive. They don't have a lot going for them right now. So I think they need some tweaking for sure.
Yeah, which is the feedback I've received. And so we've looked at that, and you can expect some tweaks in undead to make it more of a harder choice between orc and avian and other type of core races.
Huh, interesting. This will be one of the few times that undead doesn't actually have plague. So I guess not too many people will actually necessarily pick that, just, for that alone. Gnome is back, plus 15% population, which is again typical gnome. Can train thieves with specialist credits. I think we're over where we're headed with that one. No access to hospitals, defensive elite. Do I have to say more? I think we know what gnome's going to be used for. Moving on.
Yeah, look, the feedback we got in the survey was that everyone wanted gnome back. You remember that, Wind? And so we've given people what they want. The gnome's back. I think it has huge potential in terms of what it has. I think there are opportunities to kind of play it in lots of different ways, to be honest with you. I know that typically people look at it and go, gnome, rogue is a solid option. But, there are other opportunities there with that 15% pop. You could definitely do good things there. So yeah, look, I think gnome's fine, and we didn't really change it at all. I think from memory, from proposed to revised, I think we did nothing apart from Town Watch.
What's the goal for the gnome elite? Because I don't think anyone's going to use it unless they specifically want a higher net worth. It has almost no value. I think there's very few circumstances when you're ever going to see it used offensively. So it's just, like, I almost rather not have an elite, or have an elite that's like a weird 7/7 sort of thing that maybe you could see used. But
I've heard this, yeah.
You're just going to have 0 of them, so why is it there?
Yeah, I have to agree with Miles on that one.
Yeah, look, I have had this feedback, and I am thinking about that today. An interesting concept, something like 7/7 or something like that. So yeah, I'll have a think about it.
Yeah, something that would give it purpose. I mean, at least it'll contribute to, could give some offensive power. But why wouldn't you just have offensive and defensive? Either way, I think we're going to see a lot of specialists, a lot more specialists in the world this coming age. Moving on to
gnome looks sweet. I love this kind of province where it's like, well, you're not better than anyone at anything, but you just have the potential of numbers. You can push numbers in any direction you want. And that's always a nice flavor to have.
Essentially, yeah.
Wicked. Alright, moving on to personalities. Artisan, we kind of know what that's all about. Paladin, that's your support caster. Mystic, obviously. Heretic. Rogue. Sage, Tactician, War Hero, and Warrior. I mean, these are all your standard personalities. Not much changes have been made, it seems like, to them. So, I mean, except for maybe a couple spellbook things here and there, and obviously, percentages in 5% this direction or that direction. Is there any huge changes from the last time the personalities were made here, Benji, or did we kind of just copy and paste what the last time was?
I think there's some pretty substantial changes. I mean, I think Paladin now is not just a default support caster role. I think it can seriously be played as a core pick if you play it properly. And that was the intent, rather than just putting kingdoms in a slot, in a position where they'd be like, right, we need this many, support casters, you have to, do it, and, attackers don't get that choice of still being, an attacker core. So there's a real strength, I think, behind Paladin to do that.
One thing
the only thing I haven't decided is...
Yeah. One thing I want to say is I like how the Genesis is kind of crossed over into World of Legends here, with things like, this buff to Watchtower effectiveness or science effectiveness, specifically to heroism. That's kind of stuff that typically you would see in Genesis, so it's good to see that stuff finally making its way over to the World of Legends, because I think it adds an extra layer to the personalities.
mean, look, I play Genesis and I play well, so I try and see the benefits of both sides, and try and take some of those opportunities where we can. Very keen to obviously hear from Smiles on this time of thing too, because it is a bit different than what we would typically have in WoL. But I mean, the intent is to provide more opportunity in build and versatility around there, and that's why it's kind of across them. I know that I've had feedback in the last 24 hours in age discussions about thematically. Sometimes some of it's a bit mismatched. So I've tried to make some of those changes today for finals, but still hold that there. But yeah, look, I think Paladin is quite a substantial change. I think that 30% military casualties is no joke. If I was to look at it at like 20%, I go, yeah, but 30 I think really changes the game to make them a serious core choice for personality. Yeah, and I think you will see that kind of flavor as you're looking at it with the those Genesis type bonuses across the races. I'm sorry, across the personalities. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm feeling really happy with personalities right now. All of the revised,
Good.
my first impression was pretty, this and this and this. They all seem very pointy and strong and a little bit scary, but once I spent some time on it, like I'm quite liking the flavor and the balance of things. So I think a few tweaks there, and we're looking for some pretty happy finals.
It's good to hear.
All right, about persons or anything like that. Again, I'm going to open up the floor to the audience now. Anyone else who's in the audience, if feel free to raise your hand if you want to speak or type in.
Look, I mean, I'll do the very quick summary of personalities at the moment, where they're kind of at, and where I'm kind of thinking they're heading towards final, because I'm keen to hear that feedback and people to post that in the change discussions, because I know that's what you guys want. You want to hear about it. Artisan at the moment, haven't really changed it too much, and I don't intend to change it too much. I think it's fine. Paladin pretty much the same. Mystic I think is fine. I don't think we really need any major changes there. I think it's strong. I don't think it's OP. I think it's one of those things where people were like, yep, we need some Mystics. Heretic I have made slight tweaks, but tweaks in a positive way, I believe. So I wouldn't be overly concerned with that. Rogue, yep, 2 stealth is going to be a bit of a different ball game, but we did remove the TPA bonus, as Smiles was talking about in his chat. So you will have to think about how you kind of crack in first, but once you do crack in, the floodgates will open, which is kind of what Rogue is: high risk, high reward. Sage, definitely have made some tweaks with Sage to make it more prevalent coming into finals, so I have listened to the feedback on that. It is a difficult personality to kind of change, because you can go very quickly too far on the upper end and make it very strong, but I have made some subtle tweaks there to make it a bit more of a better choice. Tact, pretty much the same. More than anything else, it would just be more quality of life. Might potentially remove one particular thing, but I haven't decided yet. War Hero, have probably going to head more in the direction of honor retention, because I know there's been some concerns that the 100% effects of honors is kind of, yep, it's great, but you lose it very quickly. So I'm thinking about that at the moment, and trying to keep with that theme. Warrior is just pretty much exactly what it is: OME stack, high offense, break in, potentially, double tap, quad tap, triple tap. That's kind of where we're heading with most of it. I'm happy to hear from Smiles, because I can see he's lining up here and there.
Yeah, those core personalities are all looking really good. Tactician, you've got like 4 different bonuses. All of them are substantial, but not like super huge on their own, but each one of them really adds to your province. And then War Hero and Warrior both, they really have like a flavor to them, which is specified. You know the direction they're going, and they feel strong at the same time. So I'm really happy with those three personalities for sure.
Mm. Yeah, I think, like I said, the only change I'd probably see intact War Hero and Warrior. Like I said, honor retention might be more of a focus in War Hero rather than offense.
We've done that 100% War Hero bonus for like most of Utopia, and it's always that risk reward. You only expect 1 in 4 War Heroes to really benefit from it, but when they do, it's a huge thing, and I think that's what you want. When you add honor retention into the game, a la recent Dryads or War Heroes, I think it's really bad for the game. I don't like it at all. It's too close to game breaking on average and can be exploited. So I'd be really careful about that myself.
That's good feedback for me. So I'll note that one down. Tact. I don't think I've really changed much there. I am considering, have I put too much on tact? That's my only thought process at the moment. Yeah, I guess like I said with tact, it's more around, I've given them attack time, I've given them GS effectiveness, I've given them siege, I've given them credits gained, they've got accurate espionage, they've got clear sight, raffle smite, and so I'm thinking about accumulatively, have I given them too much? So that's kind of just where I'm at with that. If I were to take something back, it would only be like one thing, but I'm not sure yet. Open to hear feedback from that Smiles in the community.
I like tact. It's got all those bonuses, but none of them individually seem crazy. And I don't think they don't stack multiplicatively. They each hit a different area. So I don't feel like they're gonna make anything too strong on their own.
Yeah, and that's kind of
and like that fits the tactician, right? You've got a bonus here, a bonus there, a bonus there, a bonus there.
And I know that I did see the feedback last night that people were very much like, can we have more things stack up against each other? I'm not doing that. I'm not putting an attack time bonus effectiveness on top of a flat attack time on tactician. It's just not happening. I've seen that play out before. So yeah. But yeah, feel free to go out to ask anybody any questions. Wind, more than happy to.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, if anyone does have any other further questions, the Age 96 Changes discussion channel is open. Benji is active in it, along with other members of the Age Changes Council, who I see pop in there from time to time. But be sure to participate again in the community, because, as I said, the only way to get things changed is to be vocal about it, and to make sure that the right people hear you. This is perfect forum for this kind of thing to happen. So be sure to listen in to all the future broadcasts, and participate when you can, because I do put out surveys from time to time, and things actually do get changed. There is a lot of stuff working in the background right now. Of course, with the app, the new Intel site, the new bot, which are all going to work together and give a more streamlined mobile experience. But that's still some time in the future. It's on its way though, and it is happening. We just need to keep the game together in the meantime. So it's good that I think we're going back to a more standardized Utopia that everybody's used to. Race was fun, but I think it's good that we're back here. Just looking at the suggestions area, looked like someone was asking if the Necromancer personality would come back. Any chance that we might see a Necromancer pop up with Plague maybe in the future, Benji?
Look, never say never to anything. I'm not going to say no, because I'm always open to doing things. I think we might, if we head in a direction where people are quite happy with the race perso after this, we'll give it another round next stage, and maybe we might add some other different personalities. I know that David doesn't like adding additional personalities to the bank. So we'll see if we can utilize Necromancer in some form, because I know that that's a pre-existing personality.
Absolutely. I mean, something that would counter Paladin would be ideal.
I think one of the two, some of the things we talked about is, so I mean, where the council is heading towards in terms of what they've done last age and this age, is we try and we come out of the end of the age once it's released, and we think about what are going to be some key themes that we're going to focus on for the following age, and try and work on them up front to provide enough opportunity for David and Jeff to kind of really, get the time to test it and put it in. Very early days, but did talk about in the council about maybe some on-hit effects across races for next age. So similar in terms of the plague like that we have for the undead, but maybe doing similar type of concepts for the other races. I have no idea what that's going to look like yet, just so you know. It is really conceptual stage at the moment, but that's kind of what we maybe might be looking at. We're also going to probably look at the warring system a bit more in detail. It's a really hard thing to mess around with and touch, because we know that people are really precious about their war win points and wars, but if we were to tackle it, it'll be tackling it in a way that kind of gives more prestige behind it, and it would be a bit more of a different change, but once again, very conceptual change. And we'll probably look at End of War Ceasefire a bit more, see how it played out this age. Say those would probably be the key themes. We did think about maybe looking at Dragon. We did talk about doing it this age, last age, but we just couldn't land it. So that'll probably be one that we can probably just continue quite easily, because we've got a bit of work behind that. Yeah, so that's kind of the main themes I would probably expect going into next age. Yeah.
Awesome. And so we have reached our usual broadcast 1 hour mark. So thanks everyone for joining, and again thanks to the audience, everyone who listened in. Be sure to catch the full broadcast on YouTube if you missed it, and again be sure to check out Smiles' rants. I'm going to post a link for that in the news channel, as well as in the YouTube video down below with all the other links as well, so be sure to check that out. Thanks for joining Benji and Smiles, and of course special thanks to everyone in the community for participating and making these newscasts what they are today. Thank you guys, and I'm off to bed myself, so I hope you all have a great night, a great morning, whatever day it is.